Good afternoon. Welcome to Ponchatoula Live, the place where we make it easy for you to connect with the people of Ponchatoula. My name is Mark Verbois. I'm your host today. Parker's out of town. I just want to fill in. We got an amazing guest today, close friend of mine, stood my wedding, known the man for most of his life. He is a 14-year Louisiana wildlife and fishery agent, Mr. Austin Arteaga. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Glad to have you, buddy. Most people from Ponchatoula know the Arteagas. They know you. Fill us in. Tell us about where you from, how you got to Ponchatoula, Louisiana. Give us a little background, bud.
All right, here we go. First off, thanks for having me on the show.
Glad to have you.
It's an honor to be asked to come on and talk to everybody from Ponchatoula and everywhere else. I guess my Ponchatoula roots go all the way back to 1984 when my family and I moved here from South Texas, from Brownsville, Texas. We initially settled in Cheryl's Meadows, where you actually grew up, on the west side of town. We lived there for a couple years and then picked up and moved over to the east side of town over on Esterbrook Road, where we stayed there for several years. And if you really want to get into it, my family and myself as well kind of have a reputation for being gypsies. We've moved all over. I've lived in town in several different places on the east side, west side, all over. But moved out to the far east side, out in Beatico, and went to Champ Cooper for a couple of years. Lived on a chicken farm. But everywhere we've been, we've really had good connections with the community, and Ponchatoula public school product, myself and all my family members, and really just kind of love our little piece of happiness in this great small town.
Well, for our listeners that don't know, kind of tell us the breakdown of your family. You've got a big family. You got a big immediate family, and we kind of talked off air a little bit how your family's always had an open door policy, and it seemed like some of us have been there for weeks and months, and some of them really did for weeks and months. Tell us a little bit more about your family itself, and kind of give the breakdown for our viewers that don't really know the full Arteaga family.
Okay, so Ruben and Linda are my parents, and they had 4 boys in about 6 years. So we were all within a year and a half to 2 years in age going down. Anthony's my older brother. I'm number 2. Aaron is below me, and then Adam is the youngest. And then my parents kind of realized that they kept, my mom always used to say she tried 4 times to have a girl, and she, the Lord never gave her a girl. So they kind of got to a point where the Lord blessed us with a girl, beautiful little princess, Amber, who we actually adopted. And she was just another one of the Arteagas growing up. So in addition to Amber and our family, like you said, throughout, our childhood and even into our teenage years, we kind of always had like a host. We were a host family for people, whether it be they were having problems at home or just were just so close to us that they would come and stay for extended periods of time. But my mom had an open door policy, and it was a really good connection. My brothers and I were very close growing up, and it seemed like we had a great networking of friends. So my friends were my brother's friends and my sister's friends. So we just had a large group of friends to kind of go around with, and that helped us network with the whole community.
Well, I'll tell you this, and I've said this to you before, but being part of your family has always been special to me. I've always loved every bit of your family. Everybody's been welcoming, from my friends, my family. I know my haircut hadn't been the same since your mom had cut it years ago, because she was all our haircut. We'd leave basketball practice and run over and get a haircut before we got to the game. But, for those that don't know, we lost your mom a few years back, and most recently lost Amber. I think from us as your friends and family, that kind of tell them, about that situation and how tragic it is, and kind of fill us in on that part.
Yeah. So, everybody from Ponchatoula that knows our family knows that over a decade ago, maybe closer to 15 years ago, my mom was diagnosed with brain cancer. And one of the interesting things or the miraculous things about her being diagnosed with cancer is that, she was an extremely tough and faithful just fighter. And
Right.
She battled cancer for, almost a decade, and she never gave up. And she is definitely a testament to not only being tough as a human and just fighting to stay alive, but just her faith and just an amazing woman. And I think anybody that knows or had interactions with my mom would agree that, she was very special, and she's impacted a lot of people's lives. And I think about my mom every day, and I miss her very much. And she was so instrumental in my life. And she taught me a lot of very important life lessons. It's going on 5 years. July will be 5 years that
Wow.
we've lost her. And, not a day goes by that, I don't think about my mom. And I'm grateful for the time that I got to spend with my mom. And I'm grateful for having her in my life. And, just recent, 2 months ago, my sister, who was also a very, very special woman and dedicated part of her life. My mom got sick when she was, in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And the relationship and the bond that my mom and my sister had was like no other.
That's right.
They were just, they knew each other on such a different level. And the amount of love that they gave to each other and others was just, it was just an amazing thing. And
Right. And I know going back to us playing ball, even as kids, you and your brothers would be running around. We'd all be running around, and your mom and your dad be in the stands, and Amber was right next to them. And I know the special bond they had, exactly like you said. It was very touching. I'll say this for you too. We have the capability here on Ponchatoula Live that we get comments here, and our normal show host, Mr. Parker Larison, said, "Thanks for doing the show, Austin and Mark." He's attending the annual 21st Judicial Crawfish Boil today, but he added that your mom was the best and how awesome she was. Got a couple heart emojis from Miss Amy Gail Terrell, Miss Kenitha Berto, another heart emoji there. And like I said, your mom, and not just your mom, but your parents and your family as a whole, have been amazing for the Ponchatoula community. They taught me a lot. I know I don't know how many times your dad's been the coach for seemed like everybody in the league and in the town at some point in time. And
come on, Guy.
All right, guy, let's go, Guy. So I will say this: we did get one win with Parker's brother Bree and me beat y'all in basketball one time. I think it was the only time. Every other time the Arteaga clan took over everything in Ponchatoula and won all the championships. But we got you once. But yeah, and I want to add too. Parker said that your mom was also the best cook ever. So
yeah, I do miss that. I miss my mom's cooking, no doubt.
That's right. Let's transition a little bit into kind of tell us too about your time growing up in Ponchatoula. Some things that impact your life. I know sports is very important for you and your family. Kind of tell us about growing up, Ponchatoula High School. You were the athlete. Most of your family was, and kind of tell us a little bit about that and growing up.
All right. Well, I think I don't know how unique we were, any different from any other small town, but I think my situation being that I had three brothers that were close in age, and my dad's influence on us to be, I guess, active or participate in athletics. And I think it was a really good opportunity for us to learn things about life. And I know being in athletics and playing team sports teaches kids and people to really learn the important life lessons, like winning and losing and being part of a team. And it's not necessarily the best team is not always going to win. It may be the team that has the most discipline or works together the best or has the cohesiveness. And that starts off from coaching and then the players that are on that team. But I can think back and I reminisce about a lot of the teams, starting off in Little League, Coach Pitch. And, it was interesting because one season I would be on a team with Anthony, my older brother. And then the next season I would be on a team with my younger brother, Aaron, or vice versa, So we got to play and compete with a lot of different people. And my dad was very instrumental and coached us a lot. But we had a ton of other really, really influential coaches growing up, from Little League, from football, the Rotary Rams and the Wildcats and
that's right.
and all of that. But it's something that I really, really appreciate, and I really, really think that it was very good for growing up and the way that Ponchatoula did it at the time. I mean, things have progressed so much. And I mean,
right.
Sometimes, I don't live in Ponchatoula anymore, but I frequent Ponchatoula because I still have family and I still have interactions in Ponchatoula. And sometimes it's hard to recognize they've done so much. I remember all of our football games were over at the junior high, and it was just ragged out. And then our baseball games were at one field, J.C. Park. And then you kind of grew up from there to the high school, to Athletic Park. But just the history, just it's like a frozen in time, and it's Antique City and
right. Well, I told somebody the story the other day about we played basketball together in junior high with Randy Boyette and some of the other coaches and a lot of players. But I was telling them, for those who don't know from Ponchatoula, the movie The Pistol was filmed, I guess that was the late 80s, early 90s, whenever that was. And in the movie, he would run angel walks. Well, the rafters aren't there anymore, but that's what we did growing up, was the angel walks and getting in shape. And a lot of that stuff's not what it was, but there's going to be change in Ponchatoula, and that's okay. But the history that comes from our town has been tremendous. And I want to get into this because I thought about this last night after we talked for a little bit. The one thing I always forget about your family, but at the time I didn't. Tell us about the background of y'all in music. I think Anthony and maybe Adam's probably the two best singers in the family. I remember your mom singing all the time. I never forget calling you one time in junior high, and Anthony was in the background singing. I said, "Man, turn the radio down." He said, "That's not radio. That's Anthony singing." So tell us a little bit about music. I think most of y'all were in the choir at some point. I just remember your mom singing and that being so important to y'all. Kind of give us a little bit of rundown about that side.
Well, I don't claim to be a singer or a performer in any fashion.
Well, you're much better than most of us, so I'll say that.
I know. I've heard you sing.
It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
No, I mean, my brothers are very talented, and I don't know if you're friends with my brother on Facebook or on his YouTube channel, Anthony. He's never scared or opposed or shy about getting up and singing. And, I think that is something that is really good. And, if you got it, you got it. But yeah, we definitely, there was a time in high school that it was, I want to say three of us in the choir. It was Anthony was a senior, I was a sophomore, and Aaron was a freshman, and we were all in an advanced choir. And, it was a pretty good thing. But yeah, my mom had a beautiful voice, and she was very, very, active in the church choir, and she used to sing solos all the time. And, Yeah, I think I will agree with you that music and performing, really, not just music.
Right.
You know, Adam, my younger brother, has always been kind of somewhat in the limelight as far as just production and doing plays and performances. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't. That's not me. But yeah, and I think I appreciate that. And I think yes, our family reputation is, may have that as well.
Well, tell us too about sports, just to get into Ponchatoula High. Tell us some about your memories, quarterback, pitcher. Tell us some about growing up in sports at Ponchatoula High School, and your memories and the times you spent there on the fields in Ponchatoula.
Yeah. So transitioning from, I guess, rec ball or biddy ball or whatever, getting into high school, we were all very active in sports. And from freshman year, I played every sport. We started out playing football, went straight into basketball, from basketball into baseball, and we were very, very active in the athletics at Ponchatoula High School. And I'm very grateful and thankful for the staff and the coaching. Melvin Myers, freaking super great coach. Brian Gardner, who very, very smart. He was chemistry teacher. No,
right.
I never took his class. That was physics. Yeah. Not, but he's also, to me, I really respect him. He was also in the National Guard and high-ranking individual, and I got mad respect for him. But Coach Lyons, Coach
Grigas, you got Coach
Grigas, all those guys really were great role models for us, and they taught us the fundamentals and what we needed to succeed. And we had a lot of talented guys, and we were never state champions, but we were always very competitive, and that it goes back to, we had a lot of good chemistry. Baseball was the sport that I ended up I say excel in, but it was my favorite sport, and it was probably the sport that I was best at. You talk about all those coaches, not to interrupt, but all those coaches of those guys, and this goes for your dad when you brought up your dad earlier. The thing, we've had, Philip Bankston on the show. We've had Kevin Rayford, some of these guys that played with us or right before us, but all those guys continue now as coaches. But what I've always known about Ponchatoula is the coaches always did it right. They did it. They taught you sportsmanship. They taught you how to do it right on the field. There's times we excelled, times we didn't, but they try to teach you the right way to play. And those guys that you brought up, like you're saying, me, and I know many of us have said that, very mad respect for those guys and what they've taught us growing up. And it's funny you say that. We got a couple of our classmates chiming in. Old Brandon Barnes, we affectionately call Barney, said both of us real good guys, and we love Brandon. He's still in town as a manager here at one of our car dealerships. And speaking of another one of our classmates, Mr. Bryce Gilliat, top-notch, I think he was soccer goalie, if I remember right. I know he was excelled at soccer, but he said, I don't know how y'all remember that stuff from high school. For what it's worth, Bryce, you were a great guy. So we appreciate your time and chiming in on the show here today. Austin, tell us a little more too. You kind of brought it up and hinted to it, but after you left Ponchatoula High, you were lucky enough to play some collegiate ball. Tell us a little bit about that and how that ties back to Hammond America. With that story. So tell us a little bit about that. Yeah, senior year. Actually, after my senior year, we were playing competitive baseball during the summertime, and I was trying to figure out where I was going to end up going, and hopefully, playing at the next level. And I get a call from J.R. Teagues, kind of last minute before the semester, and I didn't know who he was, and he called me and said he wanted to come over to the house and talk to me about an opportunity. And he had just gotten hired on at a job, a community college up in North Louisiana. And, he kind of got hired late in the summer and was looking to recruit some local guys. He was the head coach at St. Thomas, Coach Arteaga. And I met with him. He sat down in my parents' kitchen and offered me a full scholarship to go play for him in his first year of coaching at the collegiate level. And man, I was floored. I didn't expect to have any kind of full scholarship offers, and I jumped on it, and one of the best opportunities I've had, and I'm grateful, and I'm fortunate enough to be a part of Coach J. Arteaga's programs, and super good dude. I mean, he's in the position that he's in, because of hard work and dedication. He's just a great guy. But I played up there for him for 2 years, and towards the end of my second year, kind of just got a little burnt out on and I maybe have reached kind of my top level, so didn't have any other offers after that, and ended up transitioning over to Southeastern, and had a little ambitions to walk on over at the Southeastern baseball team, but decided against it. And that's where you and I kind of crossed paths again, after high school. Ran into you, and you actually convinced me to rush Theta Xi.
Right.
And one of the main reasons I rushed Theta Xi, aside from you encouraging me to do it, but I didn't know how to be just a student.
Right.
All my life, I'd always been involved in extracurricular activities. I was a member of the Key Club, and I've seen other shows where the whole conversation is focused on Key Club from some of you guys that have really, really, dedicated a lot of time and effort to it. And I was one of those members that was always borderline on my service hours, but
you got it done though. That's all that matters.
But I didn't know how to just go to school and be a student, and the fraternity, opportunity seemed interesting, and it was part of a group. Right. And I did rush, and I became a Theta Xi, and you don't get to choose how your life. Well, I guess you do get to choose, what happens in your life. Right. But the semester after that, after I rushed, was September 11th.
Right.
And things happen in life, and interesting enough, about a week or two after September 11th, my older brother Anthony called me up, and he had just graduated from Southeastern, and he called me up and said, "Hey man, I signed." And I was like, "You signed?" I thought he was trying to get landed by a major league team, because he was an athlete as well, but he signed with the Army. I had no idea, and he signed, and he said, "And you're coming with me." And I was like, "Nah, I'm good." And he said, No, bro, you're coming. I already got you halfway signed up. You gotta go take your test, and you gotta sign, and we're going. We're leaving in 2 weeks. And man, another part of my life that I'm grateful for, my brother convincing me to do that, because I was kind of stale, the Theta Xi in college. I was failing as a student. I wasn't really dedicated, and the Army was everything I needed at that time in my life. And I am so proud and so fortunate, and just I appreciate the opportunities that the Army gave me. Right. And I learned so much about hard work and dedication and service to your country. And we're talking about this on Thursday, Memorial Day weekend coming up. But I mean, that's just another, I guess, topic or stage of my life that I could talk for hours about. But, spent 3 years on active duty, went to Iraq and fought in the campaign. And then interestingly enough, while we were in basic training, my brother and I, we shipped off. I mean, September 11th, November 12th, we're in basic training.
Right.
But that was that December that we were in basic training. My mom was diagnosed initially with brain cancer. And that was another life-changing event. I mean, that hit me, because when you become a military member, or you become a member of the Army or any armed forces, you're government property. And
right.
You don't get to just say, hey, I'm gonna go hang out with my people. You know,
right.
You don't have that option. You signed a contract. So my mom had a surgery and did a lot of radiation and went through a process to treat her cancer. It was a very aggressive form of brain cancer, and she actually went into remission for a while.
Right.
And I was off training, being an Army soldier, and getting deployed. And it came time for me to re-enlist, and I made the decision, even though I was very, very, I mean, the Army was my sweet spot, man. I really loved what I did. I was on the fast track to promotion, and my time for re-enlistment came up, and I chose to get out of the Army because I wanted to come home and be with my mom, because I knew that's where I wanted to be, and I knew that, you know, she needed me there. So
right. Well, let's loop a little bit of this, the story before we get too far away from it. I'll kind of, for those listeners who don't know, we brought up Coach J. Arteaga a little while ago. Coach Arteaga left from where Austin was at and made a couple rounds, and he came back and was a head baseball coach here at Southeastern Louisiana University in Hammond, America, and is now currently the athletic director for Southeastern. So just kind of looping all that back in. And it's funny you brought up the fraternity too, about how many, just I guess through natural fruition, that so many of our friends from Ponchatoula are all in the same fraternity, and how tied we are from being classmates and friends, and got to be initiated as brothers. So that's been very cool. And I want to bring some more of our comments back in. Miss Sherry Stevens said, earlier she brought this comment up, was talking about how great your mom is and how much she loves you, and thank you for the service to us. Name that we brought up earlier as well, it kind of looped back in, talking about Kevin and Karen and Rayford. Kevin was a past guest on our show, said how the Arteagas are a great local family, spent many a summer days hanging out with them, eating Miss Linda's wonderful food. Congrats on the show, keep doing great things. Got another comment from our classmate Bryce saying Army all the way. And again from Kevin saying thanks for your service. And then Kenitha Berto said, love your mom, she was the sweetest. So, I know from you as just saying you as a friend, how much, how proud I am to say that you served in the Army, and proud of the time that you did there for our country and our service, and your brother as well. And I know those stories we had talking on the phone about your mom from you on your time away. And I know that's a difficult time for you. So I'd be remiss. I don't want to get too far away, but it's kind of the same time on what we're talking. Tell us how the loop back around, how you're now married to a Ponchatoula High grad, but y'all didn't know each other that well in high school, and then now are married and have two wonderful sons. Kind of tell us about your family.
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting story. So transitioning off of active duty and coming back into town, and being a caregiver to my mom, who crazily enough, my mom was in remission at the time I was discharged from active duty, and I came home and I joined the National Guard. And my plan was to, let's hunker down and let's finish college. And my ambitions were to become a coach and go back to Southeastern and get my degree and get involved in teaching and coaching. But of course, life kind of takes you in a different direction. Right. I'm back in town from the military, and I get an email on my Southeastern account from a girl that I never knew. We actually went to high school together. She's my younger brother Adam's age, and it's kind of weird, but it's a funny story. I had started way before all these crazy apps. I missed that window, but it was a Yahoo Personals account where I just kind of linked you up, I guess like Match.com or something. But I had started an account on there and never checked it, never like I guess paid attention to it because I'm not tech savvy. But apparently my wife Rachel was on that same network, and she kept getting matched up with me on, I guess, interest, but she kept sending me messages and I wouldn't respond. So she ended up reaching out to my younger brother, Adam, and asked, hey, what's going on? I see your brother on this. And my little brother was able to direct her on how to touch base with me on a different level. So we ended up connecting, and man, it was fireworks. Just from the first date, it was definitely a lot of chemistry there, and you know, the rest is history. But another thing that I'm just so happy and just lucky. I mean, I heard Parker say it. He was talking about y'all's wives and out kicking your coverage, and I married up for sure. My wife.
We agree.
Yeah. I don't think anyone would disagree with me.
Yeah.
So,
well, as a friend standpoint, I can't imagine you with anybody different, and how great Rachel is, and how y'all are as a couple, and when you see y'all together, how happy y'all always are. So, tell us about the outcome of that marriage and these two amazing little boys you got. Tell them about that.
Yeah, we actually got married in 2007, and we didn't start having kids until 2014. So we were married together for 7 years before we started. We decided. Take that back. Before she decided that she was ready to have kids, because it wasn't me. But yeah, we got two beautiful young boys, 6 and 7, William and Nate, and they're just, I mean, you look back and say, man, I should have had kids younger, because I got young kids, and you're in the same boat.
I feel you.
We got people that we went to high school with and grew up with that have grown-up kids, and it just blows my mind. But I wouldn't do it any other way. I wouldn't change a thing. And these kids make me young, man.
I feel you.
And they keep me going, and I'm floored with the way that I have everything right now, and my kids, and I'm just grateful for them, and they're two freaking really good, amazing kids.
Well, not really to transition off of that, kind of the same realm of the conversation. It's kind of funny how life loops back around where you and Rachel lived in Mid-City for many years. The funny thing was y'all were blocks away from where I grew up as a kid. And we'd had many a Endymion party at your house. And then later on, a few years later, I got to ride. I'm a member of Endymion, crew of Endymion, and get to ride in Endymion. So it's kind of weird how those things kind of loop back around, and how those transition. And I was thinking the other day, I see the picture occasionally, unless you know the story, of you and I. For those that don't know, not from the area, before the Saints ever went to the Super Bowl, there was a radio announcer named Buddy D, and he passed before it got to the Saints. And he always said, if the Saints ever go to the Super Bowl, he's going to be wearing a dress and parading down Poydras, which is in front of the Superdome. And you and I put dresses on, paraded down Poydras with Bobby Hebert and Deke Bellavia and the rest, probably, I don't know what it was, 10 or 20,000 other men. And we went from your house in Mid-City, went to the Superdome, and paraded all the way down to the French Quarter. And there's the picture of you and I wish I would have thought and pulled it up earlier, but you and I are wearing dresses, parading down Poydras. And those stories we're going to have to tell our kids a long time from now. But it's funny how that kind of loops back around in those times that we had at those houses. So.
Yeah, we definitely did that. And if they ever win again, I'll probably do it again.
I'm right behind you, you. So.
We definitely lived in New Orleans for a while, 10 years almost.
Right.
And, my gypsy nature bounced around Lakeview, Mid-City. We lived in Mid-City for, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, and just absolutely fell in love with New Orleans and learned a lot about New Orleans. And, I guess we'll transition into my work, but I was required to live in New Orleans, and just another amazing opportunity that I've been blessed to have. And, I've always told anybody that will listen to me about New Orleans, it's definitely a love-hate relationship. So if you're not from New Orleans or you don't live in New Orleans, you hear the headlines and you see all the crime and all the negative stuff about New Orleans, but amazing place, amazing community, amazing people, culture, just everything, the history,
right?
Just, amazing. Now, however, once we started having kids, it kind of lost its, to me, it lost its magic. And I wanted to do something that was better for my kids and raise them in a little bit closer of an environment that I was raised in. So,
well, it's funny you say that, because I got to live vicariously through y'all, because at the time I was already married and living in the North Shore in Ponchatoula, and got to go down and hang at y'all's house, and got to enjoy New Orleans, from y'all's front porch, and part many a times to go to Endymion and different parades at y'all's house, and got y'all to taxi us down to wherever we were going. So I want to loop in a couple some other friends of yours. Mr. Roberto Arteaga said, "Way to go, Primo." And then let's see, we have Miss Larissa here said, "We love some Rachel Arteaga." I think we all love some Miss Rachel Arteaga. She's amazing. Yeah, and then Miss Sherry Stevens also said, "Rachel's amazing and we love her." So I think, like I said, I think all of us are great admiration for your family, both your direct family and you're now married and kids and all that goes with this. So with that being said, let's kind of transition to the decision that you have now and what your career is. And again, I get to live vicariously. I didn't grow up in that kind of atmosphere, and but you are a Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fishery agent. Kind of explain to us, how did you get to that point, and then kind of give us a little day in the life of.
Sure. So, I mean, just like you, I grew up as an athlete playing team sports, and aside from fishing in ponds and camping with my dad at stages of growing up, we weren't hardcore avid hunters or fishermen. We spent the majority of our childhood competing against each other, playing sports. So it wasn't initially a career or a path that I even considered or had any interest in. But after getting out of the military and separating from the National Guard after being activated for Hurricane Katrina for 18 months, I was working construction with a close friend of mine, and just happened to run into a guy that I grew up with, and he was a wildlife agent, and I was kind of just in limbo, and he explained what wildlife and fisheries was, and we're sitting there drinking and showing each other. I'm showing him pictures of me being in Iraq and all my Army pictures, and he's sitting there showing me pictures of all the cool cases and all the cool stuff that he does at work. And one of those things, he said, "Hey man, we're hiring, and the deadline is next week or something." So man, I got on the phone and did my application and took my civil service exam, and 2 weeks later I'm in the academy. And just another thing that I'm really grateful for. And one of the things I always tell people is that I was in a place, not a dark place, but just a place that I didn't have any direction, and I missed wearing a uniform and being part of something, bigger than I was. And when I found out about what wildlife and fisheries was and what we do, and it just really, really, it hit me. It hit close to my heart because, one of the things I'm most proud about with wildlife and fisheries is we're conservationists. We are trying to protect the natural resources of Louisiana, but we're also public servants. We're out there trying to make sure that everybody's safe. Our primary focus is maritime, so we're a state agency, like a state trooper on public waterways, and we're out there looking for people that are drinking and driving, illegally fishing or doing whatever, poaching. So we're definitely a law enforcement agency that is conservation driven and public safety driven. So
right.
That together is something that I really, really I'm passionate about, and I really am just grateful for the opportunity that I was given. I know, I don't know how, but and on the TV show it says I'm 14 years. I'm in my 14th year. My 14th year anniversary will be in November, so 13 and a half.
Hey,
but for the last 13 and a half years, my job is a lifestyle. My department is a great agency. We got a great group of people, and I'm very, very fortunate. And I guess I've been given the opportunity to be involved in a bunch of different activities with our job. I'm not just a field agent. I'm on the MSRT. We have it's a maritime. It's a maritime SWAT team where we do homeland security type stuff, and then I was a sniper. Believe it or not, I was a sniper on the SWAT team.
And you've done some boat training. I think you sent me pictures from San Francisco on the West Coast, and got to travel with that. I thought was very cool as well.
Yeah, so I'm also a nationally certified instructor with NASBLA, which is the National Association of State Boating Law Administrators, and it's a standard. It's a boating standard for maritime agencies, and I'm an instructor. I've been an instructor almost probably 10, 11 years, and that gives me the opportunity to travel. I've been, like you said, San Francisco. I've been to Boston, Tampa. All over the country, and then I get to teach my own coworkers, and I teach in our academy. I teach our cadets coming through, and it's something that I really have a passion for because it circles back, like you said. I wanted to be a teacher in college. I wanted to be a coach, and here I am finding myself with an opportunity to show the younger generation, the newer cadets or the newer agents coming through, how to operate their boats and learn how to do that to a standard. So yeah, I'm tickled to death to do what it is that I do and be in the capacity that I'm at. I'm also involved in our honor guard recruiting team. We have a statewide recruiting team, so
So if anybody wants to be a wildlife fishery agent or has questions from our area, reach out to Mr. Arteaga. He's going to keep you in line, kind of give you the info on that. So I don't want to change up, but your beautiful wife just texted me. I hope the software will pull up, and let's see if it'll work. I don't know if it will allow me to do it or not. I was going to try to pull up the picture that we had. Yeah, but it seems like the software is not working. So I was hoping to maybe catch that, but maybe on another episode. So right. Tell us a little bit about a day in the life of, because I know it really can change. I know it's vast and it can be anything and everything. But you told me some cool stuff. I'll call you sometimes. Hey man, I'm in the office. I'll call you sometimes. You're driving for training, and then I'll call you sometimes. You're in the middle of Lake Ponchatoula doing something, search and rescue teams, all the way from busting somebody doing something illegal. Give us a little bit about a day in the life of a wildlife fishery agent here in Louisiana.
Well, that's an interesting thing because I don't sit behind a desk all day, looking at a computer screen. My job is very fluid, and I don't want to, it's not like constantly go. I'm always doing this. I'm always doing that. But it's a spontaneous driven job, and we're constantly changing gears, responding to boat accidents or complaints or search and rescue. But a day in the life is different every day. But typically, we go to work and we're scheduled in a specific area, whether it be my little area of operation is St. Tammany Parish and Orleans Parish. But I kind of find myself out in a lot of St. Bernard, Biloxi Marsh, Lake Bourne, just patrolling. But because of the fact that I am so involved in other activities with the department, I really don't get to spend as much time in the field as I would like. I'm constantly doing training. I'm constantly going to meetings, and a day in a life can be anything from what we call kicking buckets on the lakefront, just making sure compliance and not catching small fish, to sitting up, going and sneaking into the marsh and sitting trying to find an illegal duck hunter, and that those are cool things. I mean, you get to be a kid in a certain aspect where it's kind of like hide and seek. Sometimes when you have specific information, and that's another thing that really helps us out with our job and the things that we do, because we're complaint driven. And when people see stuff that is an illegal activity or something that they pass on over to us, and allows us to be in the right place at the right time to make a good case. So,
well, I'll say this, just from being an outsider and being around you and just hearing stories, there's a lot of things that people have to understand, that it's just like with police officers, that y'all's job is, like you were saying earlier, it's a lot of it has to do with conservation, and that you going out and telling somebody, hey, do you have your license on you? Do you have your tag for this? A lot of it has to do with, animal population, controlling those, making sure that you can continue that enjoyment of us being the sportsman paradise, that can go on for many generations. But that there's other things too that you have to realize is the good and bad is that so much of your job too is dependent on the weather. You may have a flood come up that, hey, y'all had something planned for this week and now you're changing, and now you're in a rescue mission, or like you're saying, somebody accidentally drove off the causeway. And as many beautiful days that you have, you're also out there in the cold and the rain, and that as fun as the job is, there is a side of safety to it, of you're in the elements, and that there's a lot of respect that comes for y'all. So for those from the outside looking in, that the job's just not necessarily just writing tickets or whatever it is, that there's a lot more to being a wildlife and fishery agent. Tell us a little bit about this. I always thought was cool is that am I correct that y'all have jurisdiction statewide, right? So
yeah, I mean, statewide jurisdiction.
So you could do just about anything, catch anybody anywhere. I mean, it's not something you normally do, but you're not just stuck just in, if you're a cop for Hammond, that you pretty much can go anywhere in the state if you need to.
Well, to take it a step further, we're actually I'm federally deputized. Wow. So we are able to go out and enforce federal regulated species like snapper, tuna, all that stuff. So we don't just, we go offshore into the federal water, and so we do have multiple, I guess, bigger jurisdiction, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Let me throw another comment up here from one of our Ponchatoula great, Mr. Lee Boy. Mr. Toon said, thank you again for your service. Mr. Lee's a long-time volunteer fire department here in Ponchatoula. So along the lines of your job as a wildlife fishery agent, most recently, your department was approached by a national production company to put on a show, for lack of a better term, reality show. And it's a live reality show, not live, but it's not scripted like some people say of reality shows per se. And it's broadcast nationally, or I guess you'd even say internationally, on the Animal Planet channel. Tell us about that experience, and what that's done to help highlight those day in the life and really what a wildlife fishery agent does here in Louisiana. Tell us about that story.
Yeah, I mean, once again, I had the opportunity to be involved in this production, Louisiana law, and a lot of us were kind of apprehensive, not really, I guess, just timid to see how we were portrayed and how we would be portrayed. But I mean, after watching the first couple episodes, I really, got to give a shout out to Chris Voos and Adam Flack, my camera guy. They have done an amazing job in the production, and just to let you know, as far as scripted or any kind of pre-planned stuff, one of the things that the department said, flat out at the beginning was, you're going to have a camera guy go on patrol with you, and you are not to deviate from not one aspect of your patrol.
Right.
You're on patrol, and if this camera guy says, "Hey, can you go over there, guy? I can see a good shot," or whatever. No, we're on patrol, and I mean, of course, the production, the extra production stuff. You're wearing a mic. Right. And there is a camera. I mean, look, a lot of these shots and a lot of these segments is one camera guy.
Right.
And this one camera guy, just kind of, they know what they're doing. They're kind of almost invisible. Just you don't really even notice that they're there. And we have our regular interactions with people. And majority of interactions, like I said, the majority of our interactions with people are usually very compliant. And it just depends on how you initiate contact with people. I know wildlife agents in some areas, or some specific wildlife agents have a reputation for kind of being hard and not very friendly. And I think you can probably say that about other professions. And I think my attitude is initiate a very good energy towards the public, and as long as you come off as a friendly person, they'll usually give you the same amount of respect, but that doesn't mean that things can't get escalated at certain times, and that's where it takes discipline on our side as in professionalism to be able to be problem solvers and to be able to, de-escalate some situations.
Right.
But, one of the things that is maybe a little bit difficult in our job is the majority of the time that we come in contact with people, it's during their recreation time. It's when they're out hunting and fishing or out there just riding in the boat. So, we're a little bit different than other law enforcement agencies. When you get pulled over by a police officer on the road, it means the only way a police officer can pull you over to the shoulder of the road is if they've observed the violation, right?
Right.
So when you get pulled over, you're like, what did I do? Was I speeding? My seatbelt? Yeah. So you're thinking about all the things that you did wrong. And we have the ability or the power to just pull someone over in the boat for a safety inspection, which is a power that we try not to abuse. Well, we do not abuse. But our job, because of the fact that being in a boat is a lot more dangerous, there's a lot more things that can go wrong in a boat. So our job is specific to go out and make sure to do a boating compliance check. So we interact with people, or sometimes if we see somebody out in the marsh and they're fishing, and we pull up to them a lot of, some of the times that's not really when they want to run into us. So it just depends on how you interact with people, and, just try to get in.
What I thought was funny, and this is not by any means to minimize the knowledge or the job of a general police officer, but in watching the episodes and just talking with you, like I was telling my son, y'all have to know those general day-to-day laws, like you're saying. Sometimes, I know you don't do it often, but some of the driving laws and those sort of things. But the aspect of everything that's involved with the animals and the wildlife. It could be about eagles. It could be about shrimps. It could be about oysters, ducks, frogs, alligators, anything and everything. The knowledge y'all have to have for those, and the compliance piece that goes with those, what the license. I was watching the last episodes about trawling, and how many inches that this trawl has to be on each net. All that, it doesn't matter. In Louisiana, we have a vast majority of wildlife, and y'all have to have all that knowledge about the license and every kind of piece of compliance that goes with that, plus day-to-day laws. So I've always thought that was amazing from a wildlife fishery agent. Tell us a little bit about that and kind of having to know that knowledge.
It's definitely a lot of information, and being a coastal agent is a task, because, like you said, we have a lot of commercial fishing laws and a lot of regulations, and sometimes something applies and something doesn't apply, or you got a lot of non-resident and people from out of state. Like right now, I'll give you an example. The inshore shrimp season just started on Monday. So we were out there in Lake Bourne checking just licenses, but they had 2 boats from Biloxi, non-resident commercial fishermen, and they were over here and they didn't have resident licenses. So that's just an example of just a compliance issue. But not only do we have to know what licenses are required for certain things, but the gear, like you said, a TED, for example, a TED is a turtle exclusion device. It allows the turtle to get out of the net while the net is being drug across the bottom to save turtles. Those TEDs have to have, like you said, we have to pull those things off, and we go through training to measure it correctly and have the angle of the grid and make sure that shrimp, the captain doesn't try to, they've been known to sew it shut because they believe that it lets shrimp out too. But a lot of the stuff that we have to enforce is something that is up for interpretation. So there have to be specific elements that are present to be able to make a case. So it's not like something when it comes. It's very different than your normal police officer.
Right.
We have to really take a lot of things into account. And look, don't get me wrong. We run into a lot of situations where sometimes we're having to make phone calls. You can see it on the show.
Yeah,
where there's a certain situation and there is definitely a violation, but we have the ability to use discretion. So, it's somebody that we know made a mistake. All right. And we are able to call, and we have a policy. Everything's written, in writing, and it says if this occurs, this is what you do. But I think that's one of the things I'm proud of, and it's relevant in our job to where we are able to say, okay, well, this happened, but this was not present, so we're able to, in lieu of seizing something, like in the very first episode, they had a 7 or 5 or 6 year old who shot his very first deer, and it was obviously a mistake, and it's a fairly new law about crossing state lines with deer. So those agents really were passionate about because the intent was not really there. It was just a mistake. And the dad of the son was very compliant, and I've actually read some of the comments about on a thread about how he was just really appreciative for the discretion that we were able to use, and that's something that I'm proud of. And I think our department uses that as it's something that we're all proud of.
Well, I'll say from just as a citizen standpoint of Ponchatoula, and we're proud of the what y'all as a department have done to highlight our state, what you're doing to highlight us as Ponchatoula and as a resident in our area around here. That's so important. Like I said, we have mutual friends, Mitchell Sanders, who is now on with the state police. I've heard many stories from him, and I know y'all's job is difficult. And we're proud to say that we're friends of y'all's and the job that y'all do as agents. And for those who don't know, check out Louisiana Law, Animal Planet, I think if I'm not mistaken, it's 8 p.m. on Sunday nights here Central Time.
Yeah.
Check it out. A couple of episodes are already out. I think they got I don't know, probably not even halfway through the season yet. But we're coming towards the end of the time here, and I want to give you an opportunity. Is there anything you want to touch on about your life in Ponchatoula and, or your time growing up? Want to give you that shot before we get out of here.
Well, I think we kind of changed directions a little bit before we were able to talk about my little sister, Amber.
Right.
And, we were talking about how my mom passed away about 5 years ago. And my younger sister, she just passed away 2 months ago. And it was very sudden. It was COVID. And, the whole situation, even though we've had a funeral and we've had an opportunity to come together as a family and say our goodbyes, is still just so surreal. I wanted to have the opportunity to just I just at a little bit of a loss for words, but we lost my sister, who is a very special woman who, like I was saying earlier, dedicated a lot of her younger years to being the caregiver to my mom, who was sick at the time. And after my mom passed away, I think a little bit of my sister was, she had a hole in her heart.
Right.
And she was in Houston with her husband, and she was pursuing a degree, and she was in the medical field. And it's crazy because I really feel like my sister had really found a purpose. She was really living, and we were all proud of her, and for her to kind of get COVID and and not make it. It's a tragedy, but we love my sister, and the comment's been made that she's at peace and she's with my mom,
Right.
And the two were separated for 5 years, and they had that special connection, and I'm at peace, and I know that my mom's up there giving her candy and doing her hair right now.
Right.
And, I just wanted to kind of bring that up, and we're all sad to have lost my sister, and you can think about it. We've had a lot of loss in our family as a whole,
Right.
And it hasn't done anything but just kind of make our family stronger, and that's one thing that I can really just I can wholeheartedly say that we have a close-knit family. Although we're grown up and we're spread out, we still keep in touch with each other, and we love each other, and we always there to support each other. And one of the things that is important, and I think if anybody knows my mom or knew my mom, one of the things that she always left everybody with was "Lord bless you and keep you safe," and that's something that I still say to this very day. And it was something that I hold dear to my heart. But
I'll say that from knowing Amber, and she was kind of quiet, especially compared to the rest of the family. But you saw the love that she had for all of you and your mom, and in her actions and the way she carried herself, and the amazing woman that she was. And it's, we continue to pray for you and your family. And I know you talk about how spread out your family is. We came together for your mom's funeral or celebration of her life. And I hate to get off the show without talking, because y'all call him a brother, Walter Kinchin. We always called him Kissy growing up. He was there. We all there. And all the stories, it's been 25 years since we spent time at your house. And the stories 25 years ago and the stories we had 5 years ago were almost identical. So, as a community and as me personally, we loved your family. We cherish them, and they always hold a special place in my heart, and as like I said, us as a city. So I'm proud that you stood beside me as a groomsman, and I'm proud you're here today. Like I said, I love you to death, buddy. And like I said, before we get off, I just want to say thank you for coming today and sharing your time here on Ponchatoula Live. And thank you for coming, dude.
Well, thank you for having me. And look, I'm Ponchatoula proud. I love everything that you guys are doing. You and Parker, and I know you have been instrumental in the school board activities, and I just want to commend you for being in that capacity, and I know it's not going to stop here. You're going to continue to work, and I see the passion that you and Parker and other guys have for not just Ponchatoula itself, but Tangi, and I feel confident that our generation is funny now because we're our parents, which is kind of creepy because I still feel like I'm a kid. But yeah, I mean, it's our turn to really take the reins and make sure that we continue to go forward. And that's kind of the same attitude I have with our department and recruiting, is that I just want to make sure that we continue to go forward and that we get better. And that's the attitude that you have for our schools and for our economy. And hats off to you guys. I'm floored that you called me and asked me to be on the show, and I appreciate the opportunity to promote not just the show, but to promote my department. Right. And keep up the good work. And
well, again, we thank y'all for your service and what y'all do for our great state. And like I said, we're proud. Like I said, you're a Ponchatoula grad, Ponchatoula proud. And like I said, I think all of us, and our biggest thing is that we just want to see the best for our community in our state. So again, buddy, thank you for having us today. I know you got to go pick up the kids. So thanks for joining me. And we'll get together soon. And again, thank everybody for joining us today on Ponchatoula Live and our special guest, Austin Arteaga. Y'all have a great day.